Alright, I'm back again to talk about my progress on Kingdom Hearts. Now, you might be thinking, from the length of the video, that I actually made progress on Kingdom Hearts this time. Well, you'd be right. This time I actually did. Okay? So, not a crazy amount of progress. I found with games, unless I'm really sucked in nowadays, I can't even really play games outside of multiplayer games. Multiplayer games I can play for a long time without growing too tired of them. But single player games, I really have to be sucked into, like, play hours on end sessions nowadays. I'm like an old man, you know. Now I'm like, I can only play one or 2 hours, and I'm alright if I'm not like hugely into the game. And as I said, Kingdom Hearts so far hasn't been my favorite game in the world, but I'm going to stick it out. I have about a month left for this challenge, and I'm hoping to get it done before the end of that. I will say I did finish Atlantica, and I gotta say, Atlantica, not one of my favorite worlds. And I already expressed that I wasn't a huge fan of Agrabah, wasn't a huge fan of the jungle. I just started on the Halloween Town world, so we'll see how that goes. I'm interested to see what the boss, Oogie Boogie, is going to be like. And overall, atmospherically, I just think that Halloween Town's much better. The idea that water levels in video games are bad, and that people do not like water levels, I'm pretty on board with that. And it's amazing that even I think it holds true when you translate into an RPG, which you wouldn't think it would, because it's like, oftentimes you talk about water levels, you're talking about a platformer. And in a platformer, the reason water levels don't necessarily work is because it limits your options. In Mario, you want to be able to jump around. There's like so many different jumps you can do, but when you put Mario in water, you can't do any of those jumps, so you're limiting your options on a platformer. So I was actually excited for Atlantica. I thought that'd be a pretty fun, unique world to be in. But ultimately, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought it was like, the layout of the world was kind of annoying to just navigate. You know, they had arrows pointing everywhere to get where you needed to go to, like, Triton's place. But the fact they need to do that kind of shows that it's kind of annoying to navigate that world. And the world isn't even all that interesting because it is just kind of a waterbed. And then there's the Triton's Hall, Ariel's little hole, and that's it. It's just water creatures, and yeah, it's not much to it. And the real icing on cherry on top of the bad water level that I think it is Ursula. And I talked about this on the Discord. I thought she was an awful boss. Like, not only frustrating, like, I can take a difficult boss. I'm fine with the challenge, but I'm never on board for RPG, and a lot of RPGs do this. RPGs that have bosses that are just super frustrating and to the point they're unenjoyable. Because it wasn't like that Ursula, like, I didn't know what her moves were. I had her moves down. I knew when she said these words, this is the move she was going to do. When she did these things, I know how to avoid the moves and everything, but the moves just come out so quick, and she does them so frequently that it was frustrating because you want to get more than 2 hits in before having to retreat each time. And of course, you know, who did I have at that point? Like Donald and Ariel, they would just keep getting themselves killed, of course, because they're stupid. But yeah, even using the vocal cues and everything, she gives like not nearly enough time to actually avoid them within reason. So often I'd be doing really well keeping up with things, and then I'm just a little too late on one attack, and I get stuck in, like, if she's doing that beam and you get hit once, you're getting hit twice or 3 times, and that's death. And even the game would be glitchy at times, and this is the HD version of the original, so I'm assuming the original will be worse. But, like, the vocal cues you're supposed to hear, I would notice that the audio doesn't come out of her voice, but you can see her mouth moving at certain points. And so at that point, there wasn't even the comfort of knowing I can just listen to the cues. Now I have to make sure she's not saying it too, so I have to, like, look at her face as I'm hitting her with this keyblade. And it was annoying, but ultimately I had to use the magic the arrow spell, A-E-R-O. That was the only way I was going to be able to do it. Because that gives you like a temporary shield that absorbs attacks. And it doesn't nullify attacks, but it does absorb a lot of the damage, and it helps a lot to be able to do that consistently. But ultimately I got it done. And I know that she's an optional thing, but I wanted to get it done anyway. At the point where I looked it up and found out that it was optional, it was already at the boss, so I was not going to quit now. So I did that. I don't know exactly, like, if there's a recommended order for all these things. I'm just kind of going to the worlds as they come up. And so that's how I ended up going to Halloween Town next. I don't know how much more is left of the game exactly, but making decent progress, I guess. I've heard that Ursula is one of the harder bosses, so that's relieving again, a relief at least, because I've finished that one. That's a big hurdle I'm over. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on my progress for this week. Now, Halloween Town, it looks promising. I mean, I've played some of it. I've already seen the whole Halloween Town and gone around. I forget exactly what the next thing I have to do is, but I really like the looks that they gave the characters for that world specifically. It's much better than the other ones so far. So, yeah, excited for that. Hopefully, we'll get this done.